Hello, everyone, and welcome, welcome, welcome. This is actually season 2, episode 10 of the Wayward Black Woman podcast, and I'm your host, Alicia Gray, or AM Gray if you like. It is January 2025, and today I wanted to get into the topic of the hour, or what's been going on within the last 24 hours to be specific. And of course, that's going to be President Donald Trump's inauguration, or some might say re-inauguration, because, this is his second term. And the controversy surrounding some of the things that have been happening. Specifically, yes, we can talk about how he's using manifest destiny for America, which hasn't been seen since the 1400s. We're going to take back the Panama Canal. We're going to rename, the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. We're going to, go and buy Greenland or Finland or whatever he wants to buy. I think it's Greenland. I mean, it's so absurd. And he wants to connect to Canada, making Canada part of the U.S. Things that are seemingly outrageous, but considering the fact that it's Trump, it's probably par for the course at this point. Now I'm laughing and chuckling, but there are some very serious issues that we need to talk about. The first one I mentioned on my Twitter account, if you guys are not following, or X, formerly known as Twitter. If you guys are not following me, I'm at Real Alicia Gray on X. And I mentioned this before the inauguration, the performance by Snoop Dogg, Nelly, and Soulja Boy. Now, of course, I haven't been watching the inauguration, so I'm not sure if they even performed, but it was the controversy of the fact that they were even going to do so. And under the circumstances where each one of them, just a year or so ago hated Trump and said they would never do such a thing, decided to flip and turn tail, supposedly because of money. Now, all of them except for Nelly, it seemed odd, right? And so I posted on my X account, which many of you have probably seen already, the fact that all three of these gentlemen also have sexual assault allegations. In the case of Nelly, he has multiple sexual assault allegations. And many people commented that he decided to, quote unquote, get into a relationship publicly with Ashanti and have this fake baby at the age of 40 or whatever she is, the first one. Now, if you get pregnant after the age of 40, I mean, kudos to you, because I'm all about fertility and women's rights. Absolutely. As long as the child is healthy, then I have no problem with that. I think we all should be able to have children a little longer, in my opinion, and I wish there was a medical way of doing so that we can have healthy children, for as long as men could stay viral, right? Instead of them just going out and getting something younger. I wish that women, could have children a lot longer and upper in age without having to worry about the health of the child. So that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about many years that she's been in the entertainment industry. Supposedly, as long as she's been in this off and on relationship with this gentleman, all of a sudden, it seems like a distraction technique that she decides to have a baby, which is in bad taste. Because if someone had multiple sexual assault allegations, and I'm not even talking about touching someone's behind, I'm talking about actual rape, and you ignore that publicly, that's in bad taste alone, multiple. And then you go and try to cover up with a fake campaign of some engagement or having a child. Many people are just blinded by things in the media and having cognitive dissonance. They cannot put their minds around the fact that what they see is not necessarily real. And especially if you attach money or fame or attention to it, it becomes all that they know. And I wish that people would start to think, with their head and use their whole hearts in these matters. It's just not wise to follow behind someone who engages with someone, no pun intended, that has multiple sexual assault allegations against them. You wouldn't do it if Diddy decided to, get out of prison and get married. I would hope you wouldn't. If R. Kelly got out and decided, okay, I'm going to change my life and get married, you wouldn't give him the time of day. So why on earth would you sit up here and let this fool run around, a Band-Aid under his eye? He dresses like a 50-year-old teenager. I don't know how many albums he had, maybe one that was successful after all these years, and believe what he's saying. Now, back to this whole Trump inauguration thing, it's just mind-boggling the way these particular gentlemen were the ones chosen for this particular event. These specific gentlemen. Now, many people don't like to talk about Snoop, right? And I remember Snoop from back in the day. Murder was the case that they gave me. You're talking to somebody who remembers Tupac, who saw Tupac at the club, right after I had just had my daughter, when he came down to Virginia, and I talk about that. That's when he was just coming up. This is how much I have seen these people grow and change. Money changes things. And also, if you're in trouble yourself, it changes you and starts making it so that you may or may not make decisions that are wise. When it comes down to it, I really honestly think there were some sacrifices that he had to make along the way. And this is one of them. And if he throws you under the bus, or a black woman under the bus, or he gets his behind out of trouble in other ways, because Trump has a tendency to pardon people, black rappers and such. He did so for Lil Wayne. Now, I don't, know if Lil Wayne has any sexual assault allegations. I didn't see him get invited to perform. I know that, he had some gang things going on where they were trying to attack him to get him out of the way, and he had a gun charge thrown on him. And I didn't think that was right back in the day either. So I'm not putting him in this mix. Who I'm putting in the mix are the specific three here, Soulja Boy included, who had a kidnapping and a rape charge. The black community, I love us to death. But one thing I cannot stand is when we ignore the violence from black men, especially under the guise of popularity. We also ignore the fact that they sell us out more than any other people on the face of this earth. And when I say us, I mean black women. When it's time to throw somebody up under the bus, they'll go grab some woman, pretend to be married, get married, go grab somebody, and knowing they can't stand them. And I'm not in particular talking of one particular individual, I'm just saying, and hug up to them in the press so fast, this is my wife, and use patriarchy, as an explicit weapon of violence, so that you will not ever look or think twice that this person could possibly have the actual personality to commit the violence that they're actually doing. Just use common sense. You look right at an article, you looked at what I posted, and you still won't hold these people accountable. I'm not saying they did it. Everyone's innocent until proven guilty, but after a while, you're going to have to start putting two and two together. I mean, Soulja Boy had to pay money to this woman in damages for what he did. This is not something where these people can keep paying people off, because I really believe that's what's happening. And you keep running behind these people when they, throw you under the bus. What do you think? They've been doing it all along. You just had no idea that they were, and this one was just in your face. So I don't know what to tell you. When I mention something negative that a black man has done, I get shunned. And I'm like, look, it's not just because I didn't grow up with any black men. It's not because I'm a single mom. It's not because I hate men. I am not that type of person. I actually love men to death. But I don't take disrespect from any of them. And that's what I stand on. That's my word, period. And when I see something wrong, I'm going to say it. And if we did more of that in the black community, there would be less disrespect towards black women. We don't stand together when it's time to speak on violence and hold these men accountable. And I don't give a damn what skin color they are. It's time for that. These men old as I don't know what. Trust me, I'm 50 years old. And I know what they were like when they were younger. And everybody makes mistakes, but these men are too old to be out here. I mean, that sexual assault allegation against Nelly was like 2 or 3 years ago. I mean, give me a break. And that was the latest one. They're too old for this. I'm not saying they were working for white people and that's why they were doing this whole thing, but I'm just saying white people were covering for them. And in particular, you're going to see a correlation between white male supremacist violence, misogyny, and black men. Now, even though black men don't reap anything from white male supremacy because they're still underneath their thumb, the houseboys, they're still going to try to reap whatever they can as far as relation to their masculinity. They feel like they want to be as, respected as possible. And if white men want to use them, as long as they can have their money and their respect, then that's a good trade-off. And it's wrong to say that, but it's true. I'm not saying every black man. I'm saying some of these black men, especially the ones that are more prominent and are in the entertainment industry. And at the expense of what? And so you have to start understanding the difference between a patriarchal relationship that is healthy and one that is not. Between a man that just told you, like Soulja Boy did, which he was lying. He's just probably trying to get a pardon, for some of the stuff that he's done, rape and kidnapping included. But, if he was just trying to get a bag or whatever he made up, then that's just as bad as, basically saying, I'm just trying to get myself out of trouble. If you're sleeping with the enemy, so to speak, then you sleep with the enemy. You don't come back and sleep in somebody else's bed when it's convenient for you. Like, you don't live here anymore. Now, everybody can have their own political viewpoint. I'm not getting involved in the Trump versus this or that. My only concern is the escalation of white male supremacy, or as Bell Hooks, capitalist, white male capitalist, I can't even say it, but you know what I'm talking about. Because right now, my mind is everywhere, and I'm trying to get this podcast done, and make it work. Because I'd really like to do a vlog, but what I found is, Freudian thinking there, I said vlog. What I found was, when I was on Instagram and doing my videos, I didn't get as many views as other people because people tend to want to have casual conversations about things on Instagram. They don't want to talk about political things. They don't want to talk about important things. They want to talk about family issues on Meta, period, whether it's Facebook or Instagram. So you have to have a YouTube channel. When you have the YouTube set up, you have to have the hair, the makeup, and you have to do the whole spiel, which I disagree with. Because I think I speak fairly, eloquently enough that I'd be able to go ahead and have an important conversation and not be worried about what I look like so much. But unfortunately, that's not the case. And then that's not saying in the future I might not put the podcast on visual. But I think you should be adult enough to be able to listen without worrying about what I'm wearing or what I look like. I think it should add to the aesthetic. It shouldn't be the only aesthetic, right? And that's important because we're becoming a shallow society. We're worried about likes and views and, in psychology, the likability. And now, and this is purposely being done. I know they hate me in social media marketing, but it's true. And now you're basically equating your self-worth, quote unquote, to likability. So if they don't like me, I don't get enough likes, I don't get any money, then I'm a bad person. I'm not good enough. I'm not popular. It's like another level of high school. And that's really manipulation of the media market. You're being manipulated into thinking that the algorithm is you. And this is such a terrible thing to do for the self-esteem of young adults. It's disgusting because you become enthralled in whether or not people, are clicking on your account and viewing you. I've seen maybe would have been the nicest people do the stupidest things to get views, and they continue to do it because they're paying their bills with those views. And these two things should not be equatable. You should have content, sure, but it should not be everything. But to keep up with that algorithm, which is, by the way, very corrupt and can be manipulated, and it is manipulated. I've told you guys I'm shadow banned because they know that when I speak nothing but the truth. And they don't want to hear that. They want to play games. They want to make sure that it's what they want for their audiences so they can make money off of you. You, in turn, are just the host of whatever, social media account that you're actually on. As long as you keep bringing people to those accounts, they don't really care what you say or what you do. Keep it clean, make them look good, don't curse too much, don't act up too much now. They have to make it look good, like, they're clean cut. But definitely don't say anything bad about them, and don't be too serious about things that are happening, because at that point you become instantly dropped and unpopular. Now, the next topic that I wanted to talk about, which is something that is associated with Trump as well, is the increase of male misogyny. Now, we saw this with the first Trump, tenure in office, and how it slowly creeped up. And again, I see the feeling of emasculation by black men, and that is always something that's a problem within the black community, because black women are typically the heads of our homes, and we know that. We're not here, we need to talk about that. We're not here to displace black men or make them feel bad. But if they feel like, for instance, they want to jump up and down for this possible Nazi salute, which I just heard about, when I woke up today. I did not know that. I didn't watch the inauguration. I was just watching clips of what had happened. But the Elon Musk salute to the audience was basically, compared to a Nazi salute. And that's unacceptable. You have to make a choice. I know it's difficult. We're not compromising your masculinity. The thing is, with cognitive dissonance, this whole election has been nothing but that. I know it's difficult. They purposely did not do a thing under Biden and that administration because it would create a backlash. If you ask me, Biden is equatable with Zionism, right? Netanyahu and so forth. He's a Zionist. He had friends with the leader of the KKK back in the day when I was younger and went to the funeral. That was one of his best friends, Yes, he was the author of the crime bill. We know all of that. But the thing is, when you're a white liberal, you can hide a lot of those things under white liberalism. This is a very important sociological lesson for those of you guys who don't have a background in sociology. It's called white liberalism. It can be deceptive. It can be quite racist. It can also be, something where it leads to, ironically, where Netanyahu is on the tip of that Nazism that he supposedly despises so much. On the other hand, we have Donald Trump, who also displays some of these characteristics. Now, Donald Trump can go just right or left in any direction at any given time, and he can go off the rails or he can play it cool like he's playing it now. But the one thing he does right, at least a little bit of it, is try to correct the policy that was wrong all these years. Now you're going to tell me that things that we've been complaining about in the Black community, things that we can see clearly are wrong, all of a sudden this man is going to come up here and be a white savior, quote unquote, and now we're going to correct some of these things, and some of these things are going to be corrected the wrong way. It doesn't take 50, 60 years to correct the problems that we have in this country. They purposely did not do this for a reason. There's been some conspiracy theories about Trump. I heard one, for instance, yesterday about him looking like the Statue of Liberty, because you know the Statue of Liberty has a hard face, like a male. That doesn't look like a female. The story is, for those of you guys who don't know, the people who actually constructed it or designed it, they were abolitionists, and they wanted to make it after a Black woman who was a slave who was freed. So they wanted to take the ball and chain off her leg and show that it was broken, and that is still there. At least last time I checked, that's how it was originally designed. And, you know, the Masons were like, oh no, we can't do that. So they came up with this hard-faced female, supposed to be, and she resembles like a character from the mythic era, you know, where it was basically a tribute to Freemasonry. And they're saying that Trump looks kind of like this statue, and it's also supposed to be some type of satanic symbol, and he looks like Elvis, and all of these crazy, you know, excuse me, I'm sorry. Sorry about that. All of these crazy conspiracy theories, you know, I don't know. I'm not going to go into conspiracy theories. I'm not going to do that, you know, but it's very odd. Like why? And I'm not going to talk about the one with the book and the character's name is Baron or something. I'm not doing that. You guys go look it up and you know, figure out the conspiracy theories. But it's something strange going on. Like, how stupid do you have to be? And he's like, it's just common sense. And I remember when he said that, when I was just watching it an hour ago on the news, and I'm like, he sounded like R. Kelly. You remember that interview that R. Kelly did with Gail? And he said, use your common sense. And the way he said was common sense. And I was just like, oh my God. It just instantly reverberated with me. Like, But anyway, does it take common sense though? Right? If it just took common sense to do it all these years, why didn't they do it? Now, we know our government is actually an oligarchy, and that's a republic on top of an oligarchy, not really a democracy. And then we also know it's corrupt, and it's been corrupt. The politicians have been getting paid years off of the money off of the backs of the people, the citizens, you know, the services that we provide. Housing is not adequate. Transportation is not adequate. You know, goodness knows the wages are not adequate. These are problems that have been around since I was my children's age, right? They have not fixed that minimum wage, and many people are commenting, you know, when they go on this new Red Note app instead of TikTok, which I'll talk about in a minute, that the Chinese are asking them, you know, is it true your minimum wage hasn't increased in all this time? But do you know how embarrassing that is? Because the answer is yes, in many different cases. They just went up in certain states on that minimum wage, but some people are still making $8.50, and I'm like, how? How since 1993 are you making $8.50 an hour in a state? How for minimum wage? And it is 2025. That is outrageous, and it needs to stop. Yes, it is common sense. So why on earth are we still going through this? Why on earth does it take somebody crazy, and I'm not calling Trump crazy, you know I don't like that word, but let's just say a little out there, to come in and say, I want to regulate immigration properly. Now, we all know it's feast or famine, so it's not going to be regulated properly. It's going to be outrageous. You know, black folk that live there are going to be wondering if these white supremacist cops are going to come up to us wondering if we're illegal. You know it. I know it. You know, back in the 80s, the NAACP, when they used to do their jobs, they knew it. Talking about these 100-year-old women don't have birth certificates and they can't do this or that. Well, that was great back then, but what if you're not 100 years old and their racial profiling. What if all these black men are standing up for Trump for doing something that is just common sense, although he's going to, go overboard with it? What if they start racially profiling them, right? Some of us look kind of Asiatic. Some of us got Indian heritage, Indian heritage in our families, and we're supposed to, because we're a part of the Native American community. Now all of us are, going to be suspect on that list. We don't want a tribute to Nazi Germany here. And that's what was so disturbing when I just watched that thing about Elon Musk giving a possible quote-unquote Nazi salute. What? Like, you cannot be serious. You cannot be serious right now. I'm just going to leave that alone. We're going to see how that develops. But I just want you guys to be cautious and to pay attention. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, because it's not going to be a one-off type of thing. You're going to get half of this, 3/4 of that. This might be right. This might be wrong. This might be somewhat right. You have to keep pushing for the right things, regardless of what you think may or may not be occurring. Just stay steady and don't sway from side to side, because it's a psychological game and you need to know how to play it. If you don't know how to play it, bow out. But I'm saying, in some situations, because this is so drastic for the African American community especially, it could be even worse than what was happening under Biden. Although I would say they're about neck and neck, because Biden just ignored things that happened to the African American community. Maybe they did some lip service or something, but they didn't really care. They threw Kamala out there, who the black community doesn't even like. They'll do crazy stuff, but it's not something that is any different from what Trump is doing right to your face, right? So we have overt and covert. No difference. Okay, so the third issue here. I wanted to talk about TikTok. This is such a huge kind of like a farce, a psyop. I don't understand how people are addicted to this app who are grown people. I do understand that they're full-time creators, but understand that any app at any given time, whether it be YouTube, whether it be Meta, whether it be whatever, can be taken away from you, right? And they knew about this possible ban over a year ago. And now they're acting like, oh, I can't believe it's over. And, come on. I think some of these people are being paid to hype this up. James Charles crying, fake behind included, right? I think people who said we're going to immediately go over to Red Note and we didn't know China was like this, I think they're fake. You don't know what Chinese people are like? Then go to China. A lot of these people, have the money to do so. I know many influencers who are on YouTube who've gone to China. You didn't know Chinese people were totally different from what Trump said until you went over there. This is really just a bunch of BS. And also, the crying women who are, crying about the economy, and they talk about how on Red Note, what I was saying about the minimum wage, it's sad for them. They didn't realize that they were poor, basically. And that is disrespectful towards people who really were poor, a lot of them who are called black folk, and who have been complaining all these years, for you to just wake up because, the economy's bad, and say, hey, I'm poor. Look at me. These Chinese people said we're poor. I can't believe it. Why are they treating us so bad? I would have to agree. I don't know white people. Why don't you ask the other white people who are oppressing us why they're treating us so bad? I don't know. Ask them. And that's the conversation that needs to be had, and that's just plain and simple. If you want to know, ask them. Because we've asked and asked and asked. As Pac used to say, what do you want us to ask, ask some more? We need some food. I don't know what you want for African American people to do, because every time we do something, then we have a bad attitude. Push. Yeah, and I was mad about the Black Lives Matter protests because they weren't really that effective, and that was sort of a psyop and all of this because I wanted something real. None of this is real right now. And I just need people to understand that. Don't start hyping up black men against black women. Don't start getting into, silly little planned agendas. Be smart. Keep steady. Because before you know it, there's going to be law, a new law for this, that, and the third, and you're going to be locked out of white reality. And it's going to hit you just bam, as the non-singing white girl said, like a wrecking ball. Because the truth is, they consider black folk to be non-citizen, and we know that. So they tried to blackmail us into helping everybody under the sun, migrants and illegal migrants, and because if you want to not be treated like us, then you'll help us. That's the truth. Nobody wants to say it out loud. It's the elephant in the room, but it's true. And if you don't help us, then you're going to be in danger too. Well, the thing is, you're going to be in danger if we don't help you, right? And because I have Native American in my family, I've been through this before. So I just totally stay out of it. Like, whatever, I'm leaving the country for a while, right? I'm fed up with the rents going up, doubling. I'm fed up with these people not cleaning up anything, not fixing anything, and doubling the cost of everything. I'm fed up with white supremacist cops. I'm fed up with sexual harassment. And that's from the white supremacist cops, as well as any other little boy who decides, that he can grow his penis larger than an inch. Excuse me for saying so. Wow, I'm really impressed. Now go away. And yes, the internalized oppression in the African American community is coming back. And we're getting things such as Tiffany Henyard discussions, which that's another red herring. Do I even really need to say anything about that? The mayor in Dalton, Illinois, the middle of nowhere, who would normally get no attention. She looks like some stereotypical casted out Simpsons character, because we know ain't nobody that dark on the Simpsons. But she got the eyes looking like Homer, Lil Wayne or somebody. And she has third grade grammar, supposedly running a city, and all she does is fuss like somebody's ratchet mother from the hood. I tell you, I have kids and I don't fuss at my kids as much as she fusses at the people that work for her. A stereotype, right? A sapphire. A lying person who supposedly steals money, allegedly, and is constantly fighting, constantly up and down manic, happy, like she's on meds. And the next minute she's pissed off, fighting, fussing, getting back at everybody. And, dating, I'm told from all of these silly vlogs that are out there, a married man. Of course, we all as single mothers are dating married men, because why not? There are no single men out here we can date. Our self-esteem is so low. Ha 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 ha. Joke. Right? The whole thing is a joke. The whole thing is a trope. A bunch of stereotypes. And right now the thing with her supposedly getting evicted, that's not funny, because people are getting evicted for real and living in their cars because the rents are too darn high. So I didn't think that was cute. I thought that was in very bad taste. And she supposedly is making upwards of 200 grand or something. I don't know what she's making, whether she was making 30 grand or 300 grand. It was in bad taste. Now, you guys know as well, my mother has breast cancer, and I don't get along with her. So when I see all of this nonsense, this parade, and my mother had breast cancer, blah, blah, I know people who have passed from breast cancer, and it's not been this much of a woo-ha. And it's not been this much of a brouhaha. So to establish this as a basis for everything she's doing is quite silly. And quite frankly, it's appalling. It's a joke. I think that, I think one of the women in the audience said the same thing. She has breast cancer and all this kind of stuff. But what you're saying is a circus. And not only a circus, but a blackface circus, because most of the people in that town are African American. Duh. It's a distraction. It's a sideshow. And I don't personally appreciate the fact that they skipped our generation, which is one of the problems, again, which is common sense. They skipped the entire Generation X. They just put in this person working under Trump as the first millennial. They purposely skipped Generation X because it created all of these problems. Everything in Congress, nothing was us. Everything you see in front of us is either the younger generation or the oldest generation. And if you ask me, and excuse my language, but those old bastards did it. Those baby boomers. And they're known for taking all the money and creating all the problems. And I'm sorry, I'm not trying to demonize them, but it's textbook. So they planned it because you can't get anywhere with 2 pieces of bread and nothing in the middle. They apparently think we're going to work our butts off to create that jam in the middle so that you can eat it. And I hate to tell them, but we ain't going to do that. I don't care if you ever eat again, but you ain't going to eat off of me. And that's the truth. So they put this show through and made sure it went mainstream. I mean, this woman had to be crazy, arguing, fussing, some stereotypical rat hood. I don't know what you want to call it. She was just, and she still is, very, very, very stereotypical and not too bright. I don't think she went to college. I think she got a paper degree or something, and paper mill degree. This is a blatant attempt at intersectional harassment. Basically, it's racist and sexist, right? And they want to not say anything, but they want to create a scenario, quote unquote, so that it looks like something else, so that it can create a stereotype threat. Again, those who don't have a background in sociology, a stereotype threat is when people put things in your face in order to intimidate you and then wait for you to give a response or for you to have a weaker performance. For instance, years ago, there were tests that they gave black students where they fared way lower scores compared to white students because they intimidated them with questions that were quite racist. Or they did things to the students before the test that were quite racist. They primed, quote unquote, the situation. Priming is putting in things that are intimidating or leave little messages, hints. This is priming. They should have had someone in. You saw, and this is another example, when she was there, for those of you guys who know the Tiffany Henyard situation, they had the oldest people on earth, the oldest black folk on earth that were in charge who didn't want to put her in there because they thought she was probably a nut. And then at the last minute, she gets chosen. And, you know, after all these men are helping her and propping her up suspiciously, and you know, she turns out to be a nightmare. And she's in her 30s or whatever. Again, depends on which age group she's in, whether or not she's Generation X, but I doubt it. She's probably a millennial. So therefore, it seems like it's something different versus what should have been. A mature person that went in there and said, I'm going to do this job. Instead, you got someone immature that was out of control and a stereotype. And furthermore on that subject, before I end that, because I'm not going off on a tangent, I meant to talk about this dim-witted Henyard situation a long time ago, but I just was like, I'm not going to give it the time of day, but now I got time, son. So the R-word situation with her employee. There was an employee, for those of you guys who are following the situation, who was supposedly sexually assaulted on a trip that the mayoral people took, whatever their names are, council people, and city council, whatever. She swept it under the rug. Some old-looking perv with a balding afro, supposedly, you know, R-worded this woman, Diddy style, literally drugging her, and she woke up in, you know, panties and pain and all of that, you know, panties down, pain, and reported the mess, and this woman basically fired her. Tiffany Henyard fired her. This is a crime. That alone and having a black woman be accused by another black woman of covering that up, definitely ridiculous. It's a psyop. Generally, you will not see a black woman help out a person who has sexually assaulted anyone, especially not another black person. This is outrageous. Her behavior is purposely being put out there to be so outrageous that no one in their right mind would ever think about this person being legitimate. It lends to the credibility, believe it or not, of all black women, and especially those who are single parents. We're uneducated, we're hostile, we argue all the time, argumentative, immature, we sleep with married men, and all we do is cuddle up to our mamas, wanting some attention. It's a joke, right? Like, if I'm a writer, if I wanted to write something, I'd write something about it, but I'd make it into a comedy that a little kid would do, always in her mother's face and stuff, and then having a bad attitude all the time. It'd be a 4 or 5-year-old. It wouldn't be a 35-year-old or whatever age that she is, right? It's just not funny at this age. It's a very bad taste. And, that's really all I'm going to say about that issue. It's just, it strikes my nerve. It's to a point where you can ignore it, but there's only so much ignoring of ignorance that you can do. And all I need is for someone to come and compare me to this person, right? And it's the irony of people, and this is happening a lot, who are making money off of the internet and social media, and people getting jobs that aren't qualified, and then having people that are qualified have to sit here and listen to this nonsense of this person is immature, this person did this person did that. Did you ever think that maybe you should hire the person that's qualified? Now, in that sense, when those white women were complaining about, I went to school, I did all the right things, what do you think we did? As black folk, we did that too. And for every 1 degree that you have, we have to have 2. Damn, as black women, we have to have 3, and I do have 3. And yes, they are all accredited, trust me. So it's like I got the hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt to prove it, because I sure ain't going to no diploma mill and paying that amount. And it ticks me off, because if you do the right things, you're still going to run into sexual harassment. You're still going to run into racism. You're still going to run into income inequality. And yes, it is frustrating when you hear other people complain, and you're kind of like, that's kind of culturally insensitive, considering we had to suck this up every damn day of our lives. And now we have someone blatantly in our faces who, I did hear the part of his speech, someone was going over on their vlog about his attempt at colorblind racism. I mean, it's almost a joke. It's like walking through a sociology class, right? I'm sure it's going to be in the new textbooks for the kids that are studying in college coming up. Donald Trump's colorblind racism theory. What is colorblind racism? Basically trying to pretend like everyone's the same race. There is no racism. As long as we pretend to be colorblind, everything's going to be fine. There's no income inequality. There's no discrimination. There's nothing, right? We all know this is ridiculous. I couldn't even listen to it. Like I said, I went to bed. I'm in a different time zone. So I was going to bed when I was watching the recap, and somebody was going over, and I was like, I ain't even, I ain't got time for this. After color blindness, Did Snoop perform? I don't know. I don't care. That wasn't my purpose. I do have a couple of different, like I say, understandings of some of the things he wants to do. And some things actually make sense. They are common sense, right? But that's exactly my point. Why weren't they done before now? They're common sense. I don't know about taking over the Panama Canal and all of that and starting a fight, because he's picking fights with people all over the world. But come on. I don't know if he's supposed to be Elvis. I don't know what the hell's going on with the spiritual understanding of that. I'm not going to go into that. But I'm just saying something's up here. It's a whole lot that's up. Is he the highest degree of the satanic church, and that's what MAGA means? I don't know. There's like 100 different theories out there as to what's going on, but all I know is, something is not right. Now, the last thing I want to say is about TikTok being bought by Meta and possibly being bought by Meta. I should say allegedly. We don't know yet. And, I could have seen this coming if that were the case. If maybe that's the deal they made to stay in the U.S. But Meta, if anything, I see this being a problem with, number one, a monopoly, because it already owns Instagram, it already owns Facebook, and now if it owns this, it's a monopoly on the, is the social media industry considered one industry at this point? Maybe. But it doesn't lend to honesty when people are trying to get away from you. It's kind of like an abusive husband or ex-boyfriend or something that you don't. Because everybody flew over to TikTok because they were so sick of old tail Facebook and, Instagram, which was slow, that wouldn't let them do lives. And I agree. When I used to do lives on Instagram, they were long, and then when they started cutting them into reels, it became frustrating. But that was the whole point, to get away. Now they have nowhere to go. I don't use the term refugee. I think that's disrespectful, but, it's sort of like you're being blackmailed if you want to present yourself in a way that they feel like is truthful. So I will stand behind free speech. I'm not denying that. Okay? I'm not denying that. That is a problem with free speech. But the thing is, it's more to that. It's more to the algorithm. You're not really free. The algorithm is still controlling you. You're still getting less of the truth out there than what should be. And it's controllable, as you're finding out, because you can be drawn back in no matter who buys or decides to buy TikTok. I don't know if someone bought it, but I don't think that should be your end all and be all, right? You should have ways of expressing yourselves. You should know how to come up with your own apps. You should be working together. There is that, what is it? The fan base app, the African American app. I haven't been up there yet. But there's different ways that you should be trying to develop your own ways of expressing yourselves instead of waiting for someone to own an app and literally tell you how to do it. Because that's how psychologically the algorithm is set up. It knows how to play you psychologically. And I'm telling you, it plays on your insecurities. And when people are younger, it is devastating to their self-esteem. One thing I find is, too, with my son, who you guys know he's a teen with autism, there's a kind of a Sailor Moon, what is the word I'm looking for? Cosplay thing that adults do, which I'm not talking about just going to Comic-Con or something. I'm talking about grown women riding on huge balls and balloons and sexually evasive, forms, doing whatever, blowing bubbles, and it clicks over the algorithm scarily from people who watch anime and Sailor Moon and stuff like that, like my son, to these videos. And I found him watching those videos. Is that purposely being done? I don't know, but I've emailed YouTube about it multiple times. These are things that you need to consider. When we're dealing with psychology and social media, you're not just dealing with something simple. It's complicated. Oh, I just want to talk to my friends. Oh, I just want to have fun. This has been the best thing for me. It's hard for me to think about that type of social relationship where you're actually not with someone on a personal level. You have a distant social relationship with people that you may or may not know, and they give you praise, but at the same time, they're not really your friends, right? And that is a social experiment to see how people are reacting as if they can't be friends with these people if the app is not there. And that's something where I think that's a human experience that we need to change. It doesn't mean we can't develop new apps. You can develop new apps. Maybe that's something you should look into. Yes, it is expensive, but maybe you can crowdfund. Stop depending on them to tell you what you think and what you're going to do next, because that is what's causing that measure of control over your lives, right? You're giving them control. You can post, you can share, but don't let that be everything, because when they see they can control you, then that's it. And you're like, oh, we won, TikTok's back up and blah, blah. What difference does it make? You're not winning. You still may lose if somebody buys it that you don't like. And suppose it does have a back government door component, and your information has been being sold not only to the CCP, but also to government agencies like the CIA or the FBI or something. And that's also a rumor, if Meta did buy it. We don't know. But I mean, there are a number of these big companies that do have CIA and FBI contracts, Amazon included. We know about that. They design websites and things for the CIA. We know. Hey, we're not saying that this is occurring, that they're giving out your information, but just think about it. I don't know. I don't think you going over to Red Note is going to make it any better. I think that's kind of a childish reaction. That is projection. I don't perceive that as being anything but sort of formulated. And they know a lot of young kids are on this app, so they're going to anticipate something immature to be done. But my suggestion, create your own future and stop letting these people create it for you. They have me shadow banned. They have me probably lied on. They got all kinds of stuff they had planned for me, but I hate to tell them, but ain't none of that going to happen. I don't care if you ever listen, but I know you listening. And you can sit down here and try to spy and lie and do whatever, but you're never going to come to my face and say something, because you know I'm going to shut it down, because I know you're lying. And I don't play that. When it comes to understanding how people feel, I get that. But one thing that I'm never going to do is lie down and let you disrespect me. And another thing I'm not going to do is never tell the truth, especially if I feel that it helps someone, right? But on that same scale, I'm not going to sit down here and be relied upon as always helping people and then having people disrespect me and think that I have to. And if I don't help you, then something's wrong with me. That jealousy. And that should not be at all within the African American community. At this point, you should be well above internalized oppression. I'm sorry. There should be none of that, because you can't get to square one until you get over that hump. I was over that hump when I was 5. And you got people out here 45 can't move forward without being jealous of another African American person. Come on. You got men out here jealous of women, black men jealous of black women. Come on. Talking about Trump is going to pass through child support laws that the men can claim kids that possibly aren't even theirs on the taxes, or some silly mess, and women can't claim. I mean, understand this. Joining into white male misogyny is going to burn you, black men. It's going to burn you. I'm going to warn you right now. You will be that houseboy so fast. And I'm using the term boy instead of the N-word, but you know what I'm saying. There is nothing more than I can tell you. Don't do it. You got low self-esteem, you got problems with your child's parent, Lord, with your, I want to say baby's mama, but I really don't want to say that. You know what I'm talking about, your ex-partner, whatever. Deal with that on a human level, and don't try to sit down here and follow behind a white male supremacist, white male capitalist. I can't think today. I cannot think to save my life, and that is unusual. I know I'm tired. My son has been, as usual, driving me bananas because he's got ADHD. But it's one of those days. I can say it in my sleep on most days, but today I can't do it. Maybe it's so much going on. So let me try one more time. White supremacist, capitalist, patriarchy. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. It's just been a long day. So yeah, when you participate in something, don't be surprised when it comes back on you. Because he'll do it, oh yeah, we're going to do this for all men. And then next thing you know, he's going to be passing a law that's going to directly affect black men. And I mean in a negative way. I'm just trying to get you to understand. If he does something that's common sense, don't give him praise for it. Be like, oh yeah, that was common sense, thanks. And move on. Don't think that's going to flatter your ego, or it's meant to flatter your ego, because you're going to end up falling flat on your faces. This is a Democrat, this is a Republican. I didn't vote for either one of them. I think you're being screwed by both of them, as I said before, because you don't really have a valid candidate that actually understands that these common sense issues should have been done a long time ago without the advent of something that's to the extreme. And this is definitely an extremist move. So, because let me tell you something before I go. I got to get out of here. But I grew up in the South. People know I'm from Virginia, but I've lived in North Carolina. And I can tell you that these white men still out here thinking that anything Asiatic got something to do with Asia. That, they're insecure about tie-dyed white men being associated with Asian people. They're insecure about biracial people and the sex word, and, calling them names, and, the red bone thing being associated. And I told you guys a long time ago with setting women on fire back in the 80s. These men are still there. Because she's hot to trot if she's a red bone, if she's got Native American, if she's got red skin. Don't think these things are going to change if you don't address them. Don't just dismiss them, and don't think they're going to get any better the closer they get to another association and another chance at white supremacy and, God forbid, Nazism. These people are very good at hiding racism. Be wise about it. That's all I'm saying. Please. Even if, and I'm telling you, it's been this way for years in the South, even if you don't like each other, don't say negative things about one another. Don't be a Tiffany Henyard, clown for the circus in blackface. Don't do that. Keep your mouth shut. Don't say anything unkind about one another unless somebody comes in your face and threatens you or something. But other than that, keep it moving. Keep it pushing. You could hate each other. You could hate your child's mother or father. Hey, not today. Keep it moving. What about the economy? Trump. What about that minimum wage? Trump. What about getting tax refunds back for everybody? We're going to sit there, and the first thing we're going to do is try to reduce tax refunds for a person who's a custodial parent of a child? I don't know. I just heard that, and it was partially put onto some type of vlog, and I'm thinking, I couldn't have heard it right. I haven't looked it up yet, but it sounds stupid. It sounds misogynist. It was misogynoir because it was a black person. Okay, I'll tell you, I was watching Eddie Griffin, the comedian's vlog. It just came up, and I looked at it, and I was like, nope. Sounds silly. Sounds triggering. Move on. If you ever get the feeling that the best thing to do is to jump at one another in a time of crisis in the black community, I'm going to tell you, don't do it. Disagree, agree to disagree, and walk away. Don't even worry about it. Live to fight another day. This is not an opportunity for black men to be feeling themselves, if you know what I'm saying. Because you're going to be feeling more than that. It's going to be a world of hurt before this shit is over with. Excuse my language, but we're going to get through it. So anyway, I'm out. I'll talk to you guys a little bit later. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend. I'm sorry about this vlog being late because I have really been busy. So I appreciate you guys being patient, and have a great rest of your day. I'm out. Bye.